Feature presentation on the HSN television network. This Week in Pro Football is brought to you by Hager Slacks. They just fit better naturally.
Hi, I'm Pat Summerall.
And I'm Tom Brookshire.
And Tom, last week we were talking about what a great season of pro football we were looking forward to. And if the first week is any indication, not only is it going to be a great year, it's going to be a wild year.
Boy, Pat, that's the truth. And the thing that amazed me was that some of the clubs that had come so far in preseason had a heck of a time in their openers. You can take Pittsburgh, let's say, playing the Houston team. Charlie Johnson came back, huh?
Oh, he did. And everybody had been looking forward so much to an outstanding debut by Terry Bradshaw, and he had his problems.
Of course, they had good things to say. Bradshaw would be good, but this was the Houston Oilers game, you know. And how about Miami? Now, Don Shula had been rolling, even beating Baltimore in the preseason, and they ran afoul of somebody, didn't they?
Boston, which had not won a game in preseason, I think even more amazing than the winless record of Boston and the way they beat Miami was the fact that just before, in fact, two of the players had already started to get taped to go out on the field, and they were suspended for not signing their contracts by the coach, Cleve Rush. So under those conditions, I think you have to consider that even more remarkable.
And going back out to one of your old teammates, Dick Nolan, his defensive ball club with San Francisco keeps Sonny Jurgensen under 100 yards in the air. This had to be one of the great San Francisco days.
And spoiled Bill Austin's debut as the Washington head coach. Dick's got some good football players he's looking forward to. In fact, he was quoted as saying during the preseason, in spite of the fact that they were having their problems, that he was going to have a winning year and a good year, he thought.
A lot of coaches are saying that, so it should be something.
Early in the year, at least.
All right. We'll be back and talk about these games and other games in just a moment. Coach Don Shula brought his Miami Dolphins to historic Harvard Stadium to open the season against the Boston Patriots. An impressive team during preseason play, the Dolphins charged through the Patriots the first time they had control of the ball. Jim Kick carried a short flare pass from quarterback Bob Greasy, 47 yards to the Boston 15. 3 plays later, Greasy followed guard Maxie Williams, number 78, around right in and sneaked into the end zone for the game's first score. In the second period, Miami's defense opened the way for a second touchdown when safety Jake Scott, a rookie from Georgia, intercepted a Patriot pass and returned it to the Boston 40. Greasy flipped out to rough-running Jim Kick again, and the Dolphins moved to the Patriot 25. Kick, a stocky 3-year veteran from Wyoming, powered across for Miami's second touchdown. And midway through the second quarter, the Dolphins held a commanding 14-3 lead. The 2 key defensive plays by the Patriots changed the tenor of the game. Darrell Johnson picked off a pass, and 4 plays later, Carl Garrett plunged into the end zone for a Boston score. The second key defensive play was made by tackle Jim Hunt, who knocked the ball from Larry Zonka, and Boston recovered it on the Dolphin 14. A 13-yard in-run by Jim Nance set up a short touchdown plunge. A Patriot field goal in the waning minutes of the first half increased Boston's lead to 20-14. In the second half, Carl Garrett, Boston's Rookie of the Year in 1969, dived through the Dolphins for 26 yards. Quarterback Mike Tolliver pitched a perfect strike to Ron Sellers for the clinching score as underdog Boston surprised the Dolphins 27-14 and spoiled Don Shula's debut as head coach.
In Pittsburgh's brand new Three Rivers Stadium, the Steelers' preseason miracle man, Terry Bradshaw, number 12, suddenly became just another rookie quarterback. The poise and precision of a brilliant preseason was shattered by a persistent Houston defense. Linebacker Ron Pritchard, number 58, intercepted one of Bradshaw's passes, and the Oilers' offense turned it into a touchdown. Later in the game, Houston's relentless rush forced Bradshaw out of the end zone for a safety. Without Bradshaw's passing game, the Steeler attack stumbled ineffectively throughout most of the game. On the other hand, Houston's offense, directed by 10-year veteran Charlie Johnson at quarterback and powered by number 32, Hoyle Granger, ran through the Steeler defense for consistent gains. Woody Campbell, number 35, shared the ball-carrying chores with Granger, giving the Oilers a double-barreled ground attack that the Steelers could not contain. With Pittsburgh's defenses massed against the run, Johnson passed to Jerry Levias for the game's first score. In the second period, Mike Richardson, number 24, picked up where Granger and Campbell left off. Houston's running game was moving so well that even tiny Jerry Levias, number 23, got a chance to carry the ball and stole through the Steelers for a 17-yard gain. Levias racked up Houston's second touchdown when he grabbed a quick pass from Johnson. Late in the final period, Terry Hanratty did what Terry Bradshaw could not and passed to rookie Ron Shanklin for a touchdown. It was the only score the Steelers could manage as Houston won 19-7.
Whenever a team falls behind early in a game, it usually forgoes a running attack in favor of the pass. But last week, two teams successfully broke with that tradition. Both Denver and Atlanta came from behind by concentrating on running the football.
In Buffalo, the Bills and Coach John Roush are counting heavily on the 13 rookies who made the team. Denver's Coach Lou Saban kept only 6. His concern is to find the right combination of offense and defense to lean on consistently. What Denver depends on heavily is its defensive line and all-pro end Rich Jackson, number 87. Denver's front four has been together now for 3 years, and as far as Buffalo is concerned, last Sunday afternoon must have seemed like 3 years, as the Broncos held them to less than 150 yards in total offense. They got to the quarterback 5 times and were impressive throughout the game. The Bills, however, managed to turn a first-half pass interception and a fumble into 10 points. Quarterback Dan Dara, number 10, ran 28 yards to the Denver goal line, setting up O.J. Simpson's 2-yard leap for a touchdown. Trailing 10-5, in the second quarter, Denver quarterback Steve Tensey, number 13, saw his passing attack trip, stumble, fall, bounce, and finally roll over and play dead. So to open the third quarter, Coach Lou Saban had Floyd Little, number 44, run the same play 8 times in a row. Running the same play 8 times in a row is not seen all that often in the NFL. But Floyd gained 57 yards on the drive that resulted in Denver's first touchdown of 1970. On, as you might expect, a pass to Al Denson, number 88. After that, Denver was never threatened. Rookie halfback Bob Anderson, number 11, ran 28 yards for another touchdown as Denver won going away 25-10. With a consistently strong running attack and a maturing defensive posture, Lou Saban seems to have found the combination he has been looking for. And this may not be the only week that sees Denver in first place.
In New Orleans, the Saints entertained the Atlanta Falcons, and most of the legwork was displayed in the pregame festivities, as passing was the essence of first-half action. Both teams put the ball in the air often, but met with little success. Pro football players are big, durable, and tough, but sometimes it takes more than an opponent to stop them. When their passing attack sputtered, the Saints had to settle for a 42-yard field goal by Tom Dempsey, the only score of the first half. Professional polish was often absent during the first half, as shoddy ball handling but hard hitting characterized both teams. Shortly before the end of the third quarter, rookie Doug Wyatt, number 23, intercepted a pass, providing the Saints with a scoring opportunity. Their passing game finally came to life as New Orleans drove all the way to the Atlanta 1-yard line. On 4th down and 1, the Falcons' defense stiffened and Atlanta gained possession. With their backs to the end zone, the Falcons called on number 45, Sonny Campbell, a rookie from northern Arizona. Signed as a free agent, Campbell carried the ball 7 times on a drive covering 98 yards. His touchdown sprint gave Atlanta a 7-3 lead. In the fourth quarter, Atlanta received an unexpected break when number 60, Tommy Novus, picked off a pass. Once again, it was Sonny Campbell who got the call. 4 Campbell runs and a 17-yard scoring shot to Harmon Wages, number 5, gave Atlanta a touchdown and a 14-3 victory over their southern rivals. We'll have more exciting action on This Week in Pro Football right after this brief message.
Both Washington and Dallas were picked as the teams to beat in the NFC East. And both teams showed that preseason predictions may not mean too much as Dallas barely outlasted the Eagles, and Washington was upset by a surprisingly strong 49ers squad.
When Horace Greeley said, "Go west, young man," he didn't have the Washington Redskins in mind. Touted as one of the top teams in the NFC East, the Redskins came west to San Francisco and were manhandled by an aggressive 49er defense that sacked Sonny Jurgensen 6 times. When Jurgensen was able to get his passes off, he met with a similar fate. Jurgensen and number 12 John Brody are 2 of the finest pure passers in football. In his 14th year as a pro, Brody had one of his best days, completing 17 of 20. Young Gene Washington, number 18, caught 7 passes, many of which the frustrated Washington defenders could not believe. The 49ers' first quarter drive was capped by number 42 Doug Cunningham's touchdown burst. But Washington was quick to retaliate on a scorching 75-yard gallop by number 43 Larry Brown. Brown is rapidly becoming known as one of the best young runners in the NFL. But in the second quarter, he was not so lucky. Brown fumbled a pitch out and was down in his own end zone for a safety to give the 49ers a 9-7 lead. San Francisco displayed more of their young talent in rookie John Eisenbarger, number 17. Eisenbarger carried the ball only once during the game, but it was good for 27 yards and set up Kenny Willard's touchdown burst. San Francisco's final touchdown came when number 88 Dick Witcher snared a John Brody pass to give the 49ers a 23-10 lead. The Redskins staged a gallant comeback attempt on the strength of Sonny Jurgensen's right arm, but his touchdown pass to Jerry Smith was not enough.
Why did the Philadelphia Eagles have smiles on their faces while the heavily favored Dallas Cowboys pouted and moaned? It was because a young Eagle defense led by brash Richard Harvey, number 41, was out-talking and out-hitting the Cowboys in the first half at Franklin Field. The first time Calvin Hill, number 35, touched the ball, he was gang tackled. Quarterback Roger Staubach was rushed, bruised, and intimidated into errors. The Eagles' secondary boxed in and battered Cowboy receivers coming across the middle and swarmed on fumbles in waves. Inspired and unyielding, the Philadelphia defense outthought and outplayed the complex Dallas offense in the first half. The Eagles' attack mystified Dallas' doomsday defense, and on 2 passes from Norm Snead to Ben Hawkins, Philadelphia took a 7-0 lead. The Dallas Cowboys finally awoke late in the first half and began to hit to hurt. Cowboy linebackers like number 56, Tom Stensick, read Norm Snead's mind and his eyes and made drive-killing interceptions that ruined their chances for an upset. Led by Calvin Hill, who rushed for 117 yards, the Dallas offense asserted its dominance over the tough-hitting Eagles. Lance Rensel, number 19, roamed free and easy through Philadelphia's zone defense. But the real hero for Dallas was Roger Staubach, whose ability to improvise on the run turned losses into big gains, defeat into victory. Staubach's scrambles bedazzled and dazed the Eagles, who found it as hard to touch him as to tackle him. Staubach's trips left the Eagles dizzied and depressed. Roger Staubach passed sparingly, but when he did, it was effective as the Cowboys ran off with a surprisingly tough 17-7 victory over the Eagles.
We'll be right back to This Week in Pro Football following station identification. This is the HSN Television Network.
In the second half of our show, we'll see the Rams and the Vikings, who look stronger than ever. We'll also see the Bears and the Colts as they came from behind to win their openers. And in the most impressive games played last week, we'll see a surprising Cincinnati team and an equally surprising Green Bay Packer team. We'll have more exciting action on This Week in Pro Football right after this brief message.
New football season and a few new rules, too, Pat.
And last week, the first week under the new alignment, the new merger alignment, one of the differences is the fact that the names are on the back of all the players' jerseys now.
That'll shorten my career several months, I'm sure.
Couldn't hide anymore.
How about the two-point conversion?
No more two-point conversion. The official time is now kept on the scoreboard instead of, as it used to be, by an official on the sidelines.
How about that baby right there?
And they've got a new ball, too. There's no more Duke. Now it's the NFL ball. There's no more AFL ball. This is obviously a night ball because of the stripes around it. The quarterbacks had complained that when this stripe got wet, when the paint got wet, it got slick, and it made it difficult for them to pass. So they've broken the stripe now, as you can see, and there's a place there to accommodate the quarterback's thumb.
How about for kicking? Give you a little target there?
Makes an excellent target right there for the kicker, too. This happens to be the ball that was used last week in the Los Angeles and St. Louis game, and it seems to be still in pretty good shape. So let's take a look at what happened out there.
After roaring undefeated through their preseason schedule, the Los Angeles Rams were not about to give the visiting Cardinals any breaks, unless it was broken bones. The Ram defense was stronger than ever as it terrorized number 17 quarterback Jim Hart. And the secondary stuck to Hart's favorite receiver, number 44 John Gilliam, like a tattoo on a sailor. When Gilliam finally did make a catch, it wasn't easy, and he acted as though it was a touchdown. But the Rams secondary had him thinking, and when it came to touchdowns, he wasn't thinking about the ball. Meanwhile, Roman Gabriel and the Ram offense seemed undecided at first. Then Gabriel took charge, and in his strong-arm style, he ran and passed his team to an invincible lead. One of his 3 touchdowns went to running back Willie Ellison, number 33. Another went to wide receiver Jack Snow, number 84. About the only member of the Ram squad who wasn't enjoying the romp was kick return specialist Alvin Heyman, number 23. On this play, the Cardinals turned Alvin into a man without a leg to stand on. The next time Alvin returned a kickoff, St. Louis tried to turn him into a pinwheel. Which almost turned into a brawl. But cooler heads prevailed, and Alvin Heyman exacted his sweet vengeance by taking this kickoff and streaking 98 yards as the Rams went on to clobber the Cardinals 34-13. Now, everyone was happy, because what could be better than to be a hero, applauded by your coaches, applauded by your fans, and at the same time be the only man in Los Angeles breathing pure oxygen.
And in Minnesota, there was no question about the pure toughness of the Vikings' opposition. The only question was, could a young dentist from downtown Minneapolis find happiness in trying to avenge last season's Super Bowl loss to the world champion Kansas City Chiefs? Only Gary Quazzo, number 15, who is both a practicing dentist and a practicing quarterback, knew the answer as he stepped in to fill the cavity left by Joe Cap's departure. As it turned out, Quazzo filled the cavity with 24-karat gold. His first test came when a Kansas City punt left him stranded on his own 3. Displaying the expertise of a trained technician, Quazzo began drilling into the Chiefs' secondary. And when the Viking quarterback had taken his team the length of the field, not even the Chiefs' massive defense could stop number 41, Dave Osborne, from putting the finishing touches on what for the Chiefs was a painful operation. But painful wasn't the half of it when the vaunted Viking defense started yanking teeth. Number 88, Alan Page, led a charge that crumbled the Kansas City attack. And when Chief quarterback Lenny Dawson did get off a pass, Paul Krause, number 22, made him wish he hadn't, because the interception led to a touchdown. The defense capped a day of vengeance when number 70, Jim Marshall, recovered a fumble and racing toward the end zone, lateral to number 60, Roy Winston. The Chiefs finally came out from under the anesthetic, but a 59-yard touchdown from Dawson to number 89, Otis Taylor, was small compensation when all it did was make the score nearly respectable at 27-10. Although he must have been laughing on the inside, Viking head coach Bud Grant wore the same look in victory as he had in defeat. It made one wonder if perhaps he needs some dental work to fix his smile. If so, there's a good quarterback in Minneapolis who should be able to take care of that.
Any NFL team must possess the ability to battle back for a come-from-behind win if they're to remain in contention. In San Diego, the Colts gained just such a last-second victory behind a man who has some experience in these matters. That's John Unitas. In New York, the Bears had even further to rebound. They had to overcome an entire season of defeat.
Chicago traveled to Yankee Stadium, hoping to restore the Bear legacy, which had been buried under 13 losses in 1969. It seemed that nothing had changed but the setting. While the Chicago offense floundered as they had in '69, Fran Tarkenton, number 10, began to tear the Bear defense to shreds. Even the Bears on the bench began to realize that this could be the start of another long winter. The Giants grabbed the advantage and pressed it for points as Tarkenton and Ron Johnson, number 30, teamed to give New York the quick advantage. For Chicago, this pattern was familiar. In '69, the Bears had been unable to generate the spirit needed to come back. On this night, number 21, Cecil Turner, proved that this was indeed a new season. Turner's 95-yard return brought back the spark, and Mac Percival's extra point proved that the Bears may be in line for a few of the breaks this season as well. With this kind of impetus, the long dormant Bear attack roared to life. Jack Concannon hit high-stepping Bob Wallace, number 89, as the Chicago offense began to roll consistently. A Percival field goal and a 1-yard Concannon sneak swept Chicago into the lead, and the rest of the Bears knew what they had to do to hold it. The Chicago Bears have always known how to hit, and now the Giants found themselves running into a charge led by the master, Dick Butkus, number 51. The Butkus-led defense shattered the New York front lines and held the Giants to 3 second-half points and a game total of 51 yards rushing. In the fourth quarter, the Giants discovered the full magnitude of the Butkus influence. His one-handed interception crushed the last New York drive, and then Concannon put the game away with a pitch to Dick Gordon. With the 24-16 victory, Chicago had regained the hope of a contender and rediscovered the joy of a winner.
In San Diego, opening day brought a fresh call for the home team to charge out of a rut cut by 4 straight third-place seasons. Once again, the Chargers hope to break the Western Division dominance of Oakland and Kansas City. But this time the challenge was offered by a new face. John Unitas and his Colts were opening their American Conference history with some newness of their own. Don McCafferty was now calling the shots after 19 years as a Baltimore assistant. The two teams from what had been 2 leagues finalized the merger immediately as the Colts welcomed Gary Garrison and the Chargers to the NFL. The San Diego defense was just as gracious as they greeted Roy Jefferson and the Colts to the American Conference. This start set the mood of the day as defense dominated for the entire first half. Number 20, Jerry Logan, thwarted a Charger threat with a fumble recovery, and then the Colts were turned back as number 82, Steve DeLong, scrambled a Unitas screen pass. For more than one half, the combined offensive output of both teams was only 3 points. In this rugged defensive battle, each team struggled, sweated, and waited for a break. Baltimore's came on a punt fielded by rookie Ron Jardine, number 30. Jardine's dash set up a Colt touchdown, but then San Diego flashed back with equal suddenness. The Charger fire was provided by a John Hadle shot to number 27, Gary Garrison. Garrison's 65-yard streak split open the tight Colt defense, and Hadle quickly went to work to shatter it completely. But the Colts slammed the door shut as quickly as it had opened. Unitas had no more luck in exploiting the sudden Colt advantage, as both defenses again took control of the game. The Charger attack wilted under the pass rush led by number 78, Bubba Smith. And each time the Colt offense appeared ready to muster a bit of momentum, San Diego would steal it away. The game reverted to its first half pattern as neither team could gain leverage, and the battle went back to the inhabitants of the trench. As physically difficult as this type of game is for the player, it is equally as torturous on the coach. San Diego's Charlie Waller saw the time slipping away as he searched for a means to restore his team's offensive punch. The answer turned out to be an increasingly familiar one for the Chargers: go to Garrison. Garrison's romp gave San Diego a 14-13 lead with less than 5 minutes remaining. All they had to do was hang on. But John Unitas was leading last-minute Colt drives before the Chargers were founded. And with his matchless precision, he brought his team back upfield. He brought his team back, and with 56 seconds remaining, rookie place kicker Jim O'Brien was given his NFL baptism of fire. O'Brien proved up to the pressure of his new role. The Colts' 16-14 victory opened a new era in a new conference, and after 19 years in the wings, Don McCafferty was a winner in his first time out.
We've saved for last the two most impressive victories of the week: the Detroit Lions' astounding domination of their old nemesis, Green Bay, and the Cincinnati Bengals' equally astounding upset performance against an Oakland team which had lost only 4 games in 3 years.
In brand new Riverfront Stadium, the already powerful Oakland Raiders showed off some brand new explosive talent. Number 87 is number 1 draft choice Raymond Chester, a tight end with more than a little determination. Another Raider rookie who made a splashy debut was defensive back Alvin Wyatt, number 41. He returned 2 punts, 63 and 72 yards. And then, of course, there was the old Raider strength, the passing combination of Darryl LaMonica to Fred Biletnikoff, which was good for 2 more touchdowns. Paul Brown's young Bengals matched the Raiders strength for strength. Number 33, former Chargers safety Kenny Graham, scooped up a partially blocked punt and set up the first Bengal score. Number 14, quarterback Sam Weish, rolled right and kept right on rolling to the Bengals' first touchdown of the year. Weiss set up another score with an end around to wide receiver Eric Crabtree, number 10. Paul Robinson followed a block by number 71, former Chicago Bear Rufus Mays, and the Bengals had scored again. Another Bengal touchdown was the result of a Sam Weiss pass to speedy running back Essex Johnson, number 19. But the star of the game was number 30, running back Jess Phillips, the former defensive back from Michigan State, who accounted for almost 200 yards running and receiving. The game's biggest play occurred late in the third quarter. Third down, 30 yards to go from the Bengal 24. Paul Brown's call, a draw play to Jess Phillips. Later, Phillips said, quote, "We all sort of flinched when that play came in from the sideline, but it was the Raiders who flinched at the final score. Oakland 21, Cincinnati 31.
In Green Bay, there was a coach with a real problem. Could the Packers regain the great strength necessary to win the NFC's Central or Black and Blue division? Bart Starr threw to Donnie Anderson for Green Bay's first down of the year. Significantly, this did not occur until late in the third quarter, with Detroit already ahead 23-0. The rest of the afternoon, the Lions' incredibly solid defense was ready and waiting for everything Bart Starr threw at them. Time and again, the Packer backs were swarmed under, at or behind the line of scrimmage. For most of the afternoon, the Packers could hardly manage to get off a punt. Former Bengal punter Dale Livingston, number 37, found himself ill-suited to his emergency role as a running back. But unbelievably, the wrath of some of the Green Bay crowd was directed at none other than their idol of the 60s, quarterback Bart Starr. Lem Barney's perfect interception touchdown helped to seal the doom of the Packers and their leader, Bart Starr. The NFC Central Division this year may have a new champion, led by number 19, Lion quarterback Bill Munson. Munson has a lot of help in his backfield. Number 42 is second-year running back Alty Taylor, a speed burner from Utah State. Number 38 is Bill Triplett, an 8-year veteran from Miami of Ohio. For a passing target, Munson has at tight end one of the best in the game, Charlie Sanders, number 88. And flying from the midst of an excellent offensive line, one of the game's best running backs, Mel Farr, number 24. But the cruelest blow was dealt by young Greg Landry, number 11, who quarterback sneaked for 76 yards before winding down at the Packer 11. This year's Lions do not appear willing to settle for anything less than perfection. And last Sunday, they very nearly achieved it, as they dealt Green Bay its first shutout in more than a decade, 40-0.
Well, Pat, I was up at Lambeau Field and watched the Packers really being ripped up by Detroit. And it's one of those pregame plans we talk so much about really working. Joe Schmidt and Jim David, the Lion coaches, night before the game told me, they said, the Lions are ready to eat the Packers up, and they did it.
Indeed, they did. And when you get eaten up like that in front of your home crowd, it's got to be doubly embarrassing. Yeah. I think something that you were telling me earlier about the tribute that the fans paid to Bart Starr is a remarkable thing.
Well, the Packers didn't have a first down in the third period, and a few boo birds got on Bart, and suddenly the entire populace, I guess, of Green Bay stood up and gave the quarterback a standing ovation, and I guess this could only happen in Green Bay.
Cincinnati looked good against Oakland, too, and they played Detroit.
Well, a week ago, they played Detroit very well in preseason play, and Paul Brown, I think, has more than just a third-year expansion team. They look like they've been around a long time already.
I wonder, Tom, if we dare go out on the limb and try to pick the results of some of these games after what happened to us last week when we didn't do so well.
Well, how about, yes, that's right, we'll go back to that. How about the Kansas City Chiefs now? They're playing Baltimore. This has got to be a classic job.
Oh, it'll have to be. I still stick with Kansas City. There is great talent on that team. I think they'll beat Baltimore. What do you think?
I wish I could take Baltimore, but I think Lenny Dawson is the most careful quarterback. I'll have to go with Kansas City, too. Sorry.
At any rate, we'll be back next week to show you what happens.
I'm Tom Brookshire.
And I'm Pat Summerall. See you next week.
Promotional consideration is provided by American Motors, makers of the bold new 1971 Javelin with styling so hairy, we even risk turning some people off. Javelin by American Motors. This Week in Pro Football is brought to you by Hager Slacks. They just fit better naturally. This has been a color feature presentation in cooperation with NFL Films through the facilities of Hughes Sports Network.